Anymore? Wow, wow. Excuse
No,
me.
you can hit like whenever you feel like, right?
That's
But
already. I already hit.
This riffing nonsense. One.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm not even ready.
Really?
I'm semi-ready.
You're semi-ready.
Semi-Fredo. Hang on. Hang on.
We don't even have your thing this week. You don't
I
have.
beg your
I
pardon?
don't
I
have
beg
a
your pardon?
video. I don't have your video this week of your cigar thing.
Even though I sent it 15 minutes after the last show ended, you've only had like 174 hours.
No. You know the video we played
Ah,
of you last week? I don't have that
yes.
video. Someone took it down.
Oh yes, of course. There's always an excuse. Someone else did it. The internet
Dog ate
broke.
the dog ate my dog
The
ate the
dog
homework.
ate the homework.
Yeah, it's really weird. I have to look for it while we're here
No, I did
live.
send it to you. Yeah? I did send it to you.
Sure, let's go with that. Whatever you say. Yeah, I believe you.
Oh, passive aggressive. This is part and parcel of the programming. This passive aggression.
Yeah. Well, I have this one, so we're going to use a one. This one's going to be a little fakakta because I don't know what happened to the other one. That's not good. No, well, it is what it is. Welcome to a live cigar show. Let me know when you want to start. When you want me to hit the real button.
I thought you hit the.
I hit the record. I haven't hit the intro yet.
And because we've started a little bit early.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate you starting early.
I'm here for you.
I started early because I was kind of itching to go.
I can see that. I have an itch too, but I got some cream and I feel much better now. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Have you? Okay. Are we waiting for? Now, given that I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief on Trinidad cigars.
Yeah.
The word Trinidad in Spanish means
Trinity. Wait. You're about to start something. Hold on. Let's do this.
No. I'm talking to you about starting something. I'm not starting something.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking to you about starting something.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is, when you're on a drag race here.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear drag.
First, you warm up the tires by spinning them a little bit before you release launch control and go.
Wow. I like the way you're.
I have this imagery in my head.
I see that. I see that.
No, I've been. If you allow me to warm up.
Yeah, please warm up.
This since last week, we were talking about. You seem slightly. By the way, you seem slightly distracted. I can see you.
No, what I'm doing is because I realized the error that I made, and I'm fixing it while we're talking and on the live show. So go ahead, please.
No. What happened? What happened?
No, your cigar thing.
It's there. It is there, is it?
Yes, it's the story, but it's that story, and I'm looking for the other story. And then this is what happens when you drink heavily in the morning. So it's no big deal, but I will find it because that's what I do.
The flavor of this show is a little bit inspired in some way in my fiendish little brain from last week's show.
Okay.
So last week's show, I was talking to you about sort of a short history, more of a story, more of a feeling about Quai d'Orsay cigars, if you recall.
Yes, you were.
Or en français, Quai d'Orsay, if you really want to push the boat out.
Oh God, yeah.
Now, the whole point of the French language is to sound pompous and an upstart and knobbish, it fits very well with the cigar smoking community, especially here in London, because no one here is pompous or snobbish.
No, God forbid that would be that there. So
anyway, so this Quai d'Orsay thing's been going on in my head. This sort of like the French teaming up with Cuba Tobacco.
Okay.
They teamed up and they produced this sort of extraordinary, lighter, more sophisticated, in their mind, a more sophisticated cigar for the French market,
right,
to be paired with sort of the high-end products like champagne and truffles and foie gras, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
Hang on.
You mean hang on? It's a live show. There's no hanging on.
Now, given the nature of this sort of luxury industry, the luxury market, what happened?
Welcome to the live show, kids. and we have dead silence here. Well, this is doing a live show, and I'm the only one here. So you know what we're going to do for fun while we're waiting for Uncle Rizza to show back up. I'm smoking the Oliva V 130th anniversary cigar today. 135th anniversary cigar. It's a very nice cigar. So now I'm going to run the credits. So when he comes back, we actually have a cigar show going on. And that's it. So we'll see you momentarily.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to Habanos Saturday, the fastest growing cigar show on YouTube with over 100,000 subscribers. Come join us every Saturday live. Every Saturday live.
Okay, kids, and he's back. Here he is. There you go. Look at you back. Are you any more interruptions? Or are we good right now?
We can all have technical difficulties. We can all have technical difficulties.
Listen, tell your mistress that you're busy.
Let me jump straight back into it. So this luxury brand thing was going on in my head. Okay.
Yeah.
So last week we spoke about Quai cigars, and I'd already declared an interest to Stephen that this week I wanted to go on to Trinidad. Now, Trinidad cigars. Now, the rationale for that was that, again, referring back to last week, I'd heard some gossip and rumor that Quai would become part of this elite super brand where Trinidad and Cohiba already sit. So I thought it would be a natural progression to go on to Trinidad cigars, right? And then the stories started playing in my head. The sort of like the history of Trinidad cigars. I mean, I did a little bit of research, but at the same time, the curiosity of this brand, I will explain now. So do you want to cue the credit?
I just cued him when you took your last break. We're good. We're ready to roll. I'm about to light my cigar. I went through what I'm smoking.
So light up. Now, Trinidad cigars have some sort of mythic element to them. I'm not 100% convinced whether they are mythic, whether it's part of the marketing, whether it's part of the story. But if you combine all these things together, you get the anticipation of something quite special, which is what these Habanos people in Cuba have managed to do really well. One of the sort of upselling aspects of Cuban cigars, apart from the fact that they're ridiculously good products, is the sort of the brand upsell, the sort of the exploration of the history of Partagas or Trinidad or Quai d'Orsay, which is the thing that I think interests me quite a lot. That's what makes me want to smoke a cigar if I already know something about it.
Right.
So now Trinidad cigars, apparently there is a pre-story, there's a prequel to this. If we want to stick to a timeline element, there was a small factory in Cuba around 1903 called Trinidad y Hermanos, Trinidad and Brothers, run by a guy called Diego Trinidad. And he would produce a certain sort of panatella cigar, which is these thin cigars, and cigarettes. And this factory apparently vanished after a while. There was a lot of up and down with sort of the small producers, etc., etc., etc. And that kind of name that disappeared. This is going towards history books right now. Now, the next time this word Trinidad reared its head was around 1969-ish, when these unbanded Trinidad diplomatic cigars were produced in small batches for basically Fidel Castro to give away to high-end diplomatic dignitaries around the world. So, for example, he's got a present, sort of a Cuban-made, homemade present that when he travels to, I don't know, to China or to Paris or whatever, he gives this as a present. Okay. Now, these cigars were in plain boxes, and I think these were boxes of 100. Now, God knows if he gave boxes away or single sticks, God knows, but they were not for sale. This was sort of a secret brand, it wasn't a brand, it was a secret stack that was produced in small batches, about 2,000 cigars a month in boxes of 100, so only like 20 boxes a month. And Fidel Castro gave these away as diplomatic presents. And for the longest period of time, you could not buy these cigars, okay? And eventually, just to move forward, eventually they went into some sort of formal production around 1998, okay? But we'll come to that in a little while. Now, when you have something, a product such as a cigar, especially a Cuban cigar, and it would have been throughout the 70s and throughout the 80s, through sort of like the period of global capitalism, where a cigar was a symbol both of capitalism and communism. They're quite, quite a mixture there. A cigar with no band on it, or sort of a hidden cigar that only would be presented to you from Fidel Castro in a box, which probably would have his signature on it, became something of a talking piece or a talking point. Now, really, the thing that interests me about this cigar is my recollection is that given that my grandfather on my mother's side was a senior diplomat in Pakistan, so sort of throughout the late 60s, throughout the 70s and 80s, into the 90s, I remember him smoking these cigars with my father. And at some stage in the mid 80s to late 80s, that's my recollection. I suspect some of these boxes, empty boxes, are stashed in his library, which still exists today. So that's a story that kind of ties in with me at some stage. But the more fascinating uplift to this story is that the owner of Cigar Aficionado magazine, Marvin Shanken, in 1994 organized what he termed as Dinner of the Century. Which was basically a gathering of bon vivants and rich people in Paris in a restaurant called Laurent in sort of like the north of Paris, not too far from the Arc de Triomphe. And this gathering was about cigars, fine food, fine dining, and fine networking. And it was an event that was opened with these Trinidad cigars. They were auctioned during that event. They went for ridiculous prices, even at that time, something like £500 a stick. But that story has become part of the mythos of cigar smokers, notwithstanding the fact that it was marketed by a guy that ran a magazine to market cigars. So now, reading between the lines, you have to work out how much of this is fluff, how much of it's smoke and mirrors. Fidel Castro did not attend that event, but those cigars were there, and there was some excellent wines. I think Francis Ford Coppola was there; his wines were there, etc. The lunch or dinner was the dinner was organized by Alain Ducasse, one of the most famous French chefs, and there was no end of beautiful wines and pairings and Cohiba cigars after the Trinidad cigars. But that set a bit of a benchmark for auction. So because some of these boxes were auctioned during the dinner for the charity in Cuba, so I think it was a medical charity to help people in hospitals, etc. And those prices those cigars went for were ridiculous. And sort of jump another 4 years after that, sort of 1998, there was already some talk of preparation of releasing these cigars into the market. And eventually they did, with the first release of those cigars being sort of a Fundadores, which is a slightly wider ring gauge than the original unbanded cigars. They were 38 ring gauge, Fundadores 40 ring gauge. And the Trinidad cigar range has this distinctive ponytail on the top of the cap, which is where the Fundadores started, and all their cigars are like this. That interesting, that sort of mythic history about Trinidad cigars has not only influenced how people smoke these cigars, but the prices people pay for these cigars, and the relish with which people run towards these super brands like Trinidad and Cohiba. So that is my very brief little introduction into something that was quite luxurious. Again, tied in with France in terms of fine dining, fine pairing, and sort of a Cuba France kind of thing going on there. And I thought I would share that with you.
Well, that was very nice. Thank you very much. I like that story of Trinidad. So that was very cool. And it wasn't
And
really
this,
short. It was 6 hours long, but that was good. Through
yeah,
all our
no,
technical difficulties, which worked out well.
and
So,
I've as I said in London, I'm lucky enough that you meet all sorts of personalities in London in the
right.
cigar smoking community. But one of the people associated with Trinidad cigars, that's sort of like inception point. And when I say inception point, I mean in this case from when it was from sort of between 94 to 98 period, from when it went from being something that's off the market to something that became on the market, is a
Right.
lady called Ana Lopez. I mentioned her name before. She
Yes.
was one of the key people who sort of did the blending for the fundadores and was one of the rollers of the fundadores, one of the original cigar, Trinidad cigar that came out to market for sales, and
Right.
also the Trinidad Reyes. So these little stories, you know a little bit about them, and you follow that thread back, you get a bit more of an appreciation for what you're smoking or you're about to smoke, and you kind
Yes.
of relish it in a perhaps a different way. And
Yeah.
so this was something for me almost since last week. Since for some weird reason, I think that it's the French connection. Both of these cigars have some sort of
It's French
French connection to
connection.
go. Uh,
Okay.
uh, so given that, and given that on the dinner of the century, I don't know. To be very honest with you, I haven't researched this enough. I would actually love to find out whether this dinner of the century was a journalist coined term. Was it coined by Marvin Shanken? Was it coined by uh, someone who heard about this? Or was it a plan to make
Right.
something that mythic? Um, that dinner also featured Cohiba cigars, and I
Hmm.
would like next week to carry on this thread into Cohiba cigars.
Very nice. All right. Well, this will be for all the kids watching and listening. If you go to our YouTube channel under playlist, you will find something called Habano interviews and histories. And this little snippet of 17 hours will be there, and you will know all about the Trinidad cigar. And it's got its own little, and if I can bring it up, I will. It's got its own little thumbnail because that's the kind of guys we are now. We're very technically advanced here. If I can bring it up, I'll bring it up. And this is the thumbnail that you're going to actually look for. Let's bring it,
Yeah.
add to the stage. And there you go. There you have it.
Did you
There you
like
have
that?
it.
How long did it
I did.
last? Did I go over 6 minutes?
Oh, yeah. We're into next week already. So it's
I
fine.
felt a little bit. You see, my delivery on these is not really history. It's more of a story. It's more of a me journeying through and trying
Yes.
to work out the importance of a cigar brand or
Yeah.
its origin.
Well, let me just say this to the fans. When you mentioned the quail egg last week, they sold out apparently in London, like within 2 or 3 days. So I'm assuming the Trinidads are going to
I
sell
think
out as
everyone's
well.
smoking Quai d'Orsay's.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I kind of dig that. I kind of
yeah.
dig it.
So for all you people in the UK that we know you listen and watch him because you tell us you do, or you bump into Rizza and you annoy him. We know that they sold out because the people were smoking them all last week in the United Kingdom, all this week, I should say. Hmm.
Someone is flying all the way from Miami to see me on Monday to smoke a Quai d'Orsay.
Oh, our Puerto Rican Jew, Ruben. Nice, very nice, very, very nice. So, don't you have we
Shout
have
out to Ruben, man.
shout out to Ruben. Aren't we putting an interview up of a Chinese guy soon that smokes cigars?
Yeah, we are actually. Yeah, we are. When would you like to release it? I have it ready to go. Whenever you say
Wait, dude,
release it,
we'll release
release
it.
the Kraken,
Release the.
release the Chinaman.
I think we should. Well, let's not get carried away. I think we put the Panda interview up whenever you're ready. We could put it up tomorrow. We could put it up Monday. Whenever would you
Let's
like
put
to
it up
put it up?
tomorrow. Let's do a Sunday special. Let's put
All
up
right.
an
So
interview. Let's put up an interview
yeah.
with a really remarkable fellow.
Mm,
I'm very happy to call him my friend, one of my very close ring smoking buddies. I won't reveal his name. You can just watch the video and find out.
sure.
I interviewed him at a small place uh, in Belgravia in London. Sorry about that. I interviewed him at a small place in Belgravia in London. I can't
Right.
remember. Tom Cigars
Tom
it was.
Toms. Yeah. Let me pick that
Yes.
up for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And the memes are going around. It's like ridiculous. It's like shareholder in chief kind of thing. You know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Wait a
so
minute. To all of his friends that are watching, stop texting him. He's doing a live show. Get to him after.
I don't have friends. Just enemies.
I'm sorry. All the people that the money they owe you, they can wait till the end of the show. Go ahead. So,
Right. Right. So so we're going to put up this interview. This interview is a
yes,
very, very special fellow.
he's special. All right. He rides
He's
a bus.
special in the sense that, first of all, he's a very affable fellow. He has been living in the UK for the past 10 years. He's originally from China. His interest in cigars started about 10, 11 years ago. He is utterly immersed and absorbed and sort of balls in. He's become a major collector, a
Wow.
major smoker, but even more than all of those things, the stuff this guy knows at a young age about technicalities and experience of cigars is beyond anything. So to hear him talking to me is an insight into what people who really live and breathe cigars actually
Okay.
think and where they come from and what their rationales are. So that is I highly recommend that you tune in to 2OF and watch this special. It's not long. It's a 15-20 minute short form interview, but you'll gauge how someone like that, small things you can gauge from small things, big things, how someone like that dresses, how they sit, how they talk, how they speak. And these are serious people. These are not people who are pretending to be something. They're not people who want a lifestyle that they can only dream about. These are people who live a lifestyle.
Right.
And that gives you a really good insight into what really cigars are going to be about for the next 20, 30 years, because it's people like this. He's only 29 years old. People
Oh
like
wow.
this, if they're around for the next 30, 40 years, this is the future of cigar smokers. So I encourage you guys to watch that. And this was a little bit of a plug for that, only because you mentioned it.
Oh,
But
someone had to.
I'm really lucky because even as a geographical location, London is a little bit still center point in the world, notwithstanding the fact that we started the concept of time, which is why Greenwich Mean Time is in the middle.
Oy
Uh,
vey. Here we go. Actually, the Chinese started
oh,
all
there
that,
you go.
but yeah, let's go with
There
that.
you go. There you went back to grassroots there with the OIV. Straight back to grassroots. There we go. We spoke about this. We spoke about this yesterday.
Yes, we did. I'm
Straight
sure we're
back
gonna
to
touch on that at some point. But
you're gonna start. You're gonna start wearing those huge glasses that Robert De Niro was wearing at the end of
oh,
Casino. You
a
know, the
casino,
sort
yeah, like the Rubenstein glasses. Yeah, I'm gonna start wearing those big
really.
Mickey Mouse type glasses, cartoonish. Old Jewish guys have to wear when they're like 100.
That's
So yeah,
exactly right. That's
it's a
exactly right.
religious thing.
Because they're very focal, and the top you can watch the baseball game properly, and at the bottom you can read your books and
You're right.
newspapers.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. So yeah, said I'll have to get rid of my contacts. Oh my God.
There you
So
go.
yeah, no Xiao. I've seen pictures of Xiao. I didn't know he was 29. He looks like at least 250, and
Yeah.
there you go. So he looks a lot
Yeah,
older
yeah,
than
right. So that is a nice plug for now. What I was saying about London is because of the place of London, because of the positioning of London. A
yeah.
lot of these major cigar smokers pass through London when they come from the USA, going east or going from east to west, right? And I get to meet them. And another example is Ruben. I'm actually
Right.
contemplating on Monday evening doing a short form interview with Ruben for the hell of it. Now, I'm not a
Yeah.
journalist, by the way. I just want people to know I'm not a journalist.
Right.
I'm not in the industry. It's a point that I'm having to explain to people when I meet them, because I think people don't realize what I do in the cigar industry. I
I thought
do
you could say
fuck
what
all
you
in the
are.
I do fuck all in the cigar industry. I
Right.
am a cigar smoker. I enjoy collecting memories.
Right.
I enjoy really good company. I have become very, very, very picky about the company I keep when smoking a cigar. You're smoking already an expensive product. It
Right.
requires a certain amount of concentration, but at the same time, in the right company, the company itself can add to the experience of the cigar. So
Right.
after a while, I guess it's with age, I guess it's with experience, you become very discerning about who you're going to smoke your cigars with or
That's true.
try new cigars with, right? So my circle is very small on purpose. It's gone from I'm generally happy to smoke with anyone for once for the first time, and then I gauge whether I think we all do this. It's not just me. We all gauge whether there's some energy in the room, whether there's
Right.
some there's some value. But but I've said this to other people. I think I invented this concept.
Yeah, here we go.
Cigars. This is I kid you not. I started this. Yeah, I
Okay,
call
I believe you.
cigars. I call cigars a truth serum. You
Oh,
smoke a
okay.
cigar. You smoke a cigar with anyone for about an hour, hour and a half, and it has this amazing. If you do it properly, it's very disarming. People
Right,
start saying the truth. They start talking about what they're actually thinking, as opposed to what they want you to think.
right.
Right. And so my role in this industry, well, it's not my role in this industry. The industry's role in my life
Yeah.
is for me to have great memories, great experiences of cigar smoking, really convivial dialogue of nutritional value. Sometimes it's about cars. Sometimes it's about cigars. Sometimes it's about religion, history.
Yep.
As you know, the whole point of this channel is to create, for me, for my purposes, to create a bit of
Right.
a digital archive of our thoughts and memories. We can look back in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and say, hey, Reza and Stephen were talking about this kind of stuff. They
Right.
were smoking this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, in 10 years or 20 or 50 years' time, when the aliens eventually see this signal, in 50 years' time, however far it gets, they'll say, what the fuck are these people doing? What are they
Yeah,
smoking?
it'll be
Nanu,
great.
nanu,
There
nanu,
you go.
nanu.
I Robert Williams Mork. So I say you say the cigar is a great truth serum. I call it the great equalizer. And it doesn't matter if you smoke a $2 cigar or a $2,000 cigar. It's all a brotherhood or a sisterhood if you're into that. But I used to joke when I lived in Montana, in Missoula, Montana. There's a bar called Liquor in the Front, Poker in the Back. True
Yeah, I've
name.
heard of this. I've heard of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I used to do. Anyway, and I'd go there and smoke cigars and you play poker in the back and all this other stuff. But you could be sitting there with a guy who made like $200 a month punching dolgies, which means branding cattle, or you could be sitting there, and I won't mention the billionaire's name, smoking a cigar. Nobody cared. Everyone was just smoking cigars, enjoying the day.
And you will find that now, I think the cigar smoking community I can't speak for America,
Right.
USA, that intelligently, because I've been there many times, but I don't know about the smoking community there. But here in the UK and in Europe and in Asia, it's really taken off in the last 15 years.
Okay.
Um,
We've had
or
a
maybe even
resurgence.
it,
So in the
uh,
80s, when cigar smoking was cool, before, people would do it and then it died out. And then again, like in the mid 90s, it picked up again. And now I don't think it's where it was in the 80s or 90s. I think people smoke them and there's so many brands now. Good luck. I don't think it is like it is in London.
in the UK, it's extremely vibrant.
Yeah,
And
not here.
another market indicator of this is very, very recently, I would say in the last 5 years, it has taken off in some sense in the ladies' communities. There are
Right.
now groups of Sisters of Belief. I mean, yes, there were ladies who smoked before, but in terms of as fashion, it's a bit. I see it as a bit of a fashion statement,
Okay.
sort of a post-feminist we can also smoke kind of thing. Now, I may be being unfair about this, but it's just the way I see it. My thoughts are disposable. If you don't like them, put them in the bin. But I
Even
see
though
this
they should all
as
be barefoot and pregnant. Go ahead.
I see this as a bit of fashion statement. There are a few ladies out there. Some ladies, including Anna Lopez, are like top of their game. They know their cigars in a way that I can only hope to know my cigars, right?
Right.
But as a general, it's a bit of a fashion statement. It's a bit of a style statement. It's a bit of a lifestyle statement, and that's fair.
Right.
That is what it is. I'm not being negative. I'm just sort of like trying to see it for what it is, and the vibrance of the cigar smoking community, the vibrance of the number of cigar brands. Now we're talking non-Cubans because there's no end of non-Cuban cigar
Right.
brands that are they just appear
Yeah.
like that,
Well,
right?
and
Yeah.
we talked about that the other day. We had a brand reach out to us, and they're sending us like the gentleman did a few weeks ago, where he smoked
From
his
Dominican
non-Cuban
Republic.
from the
From
Dominican
Dominican.
Republics. So we're gonna smoke his brand here in a few
Do you
weeks on the
recall their
show. And
name? Do you recall their name? Do you want to
I
give them a
sent it to
shout
you.
out?
I sent it to you in our What's Up chat. So let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
And I'll massacre the name, of course, because I don't do good with
It's a
names.
lifestyle brand, I think.
It's a lifestyle brand, and it is not a clue. Anyway, but it's there. It's there. And because we have so much stuff in our chat. Holy jeez, what is all this? Okay, hold on a second. Let me try one more time, see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. It's I'm gonna screw up the name. Sperlinga Cigars, Sperlinga. So
Sperlinga
Sperlinga
cigars.
Cigars. Yes, they reached
Right.
out and I
In the
said,
Dominican Republic, from
"Yep,
Santiago.
yeah,
I had a quick look at their website and their social media for you,
yeah,
which is why I couldn't remember the name. I did it so quickly. But yeah, so you have all these brands, you
right,
have all these sub brands, you have new. I mean, right now there's an industry event going on in the UK, not too far from London, an hour outside London,
right,
sort of the Association of Tobacco retailers, sort of a trade thing. So
right,
I would have liked to have gone, but it's for trade. So they're going to announce special prices, etc., internally. So it's not really for customers. Yeah, it's not really for people like me. Um, but that vibrancy is another indicator of where this cigar community is going, cigar
right."
smoking is going. So it's getting more and more vibrant,
But
diverse. There are
here's
different.
let me, if I may, and I don't mean to interrupt, but in London, you're a small, like, London, the whole country, the UK fits into like my backyard. In America, because we're so large, we don't have it the way you do. There's vibrant pockets, and then
Yeah.
really, you're talking about Marvin and Cigar Aficionado magazine. Um, and Arnold, you still owe us an interview, by the way. I'm just letting you know. But anyway, they do the big smoke, right? They do it in Vegas. They did one in New York. They did one in Miami. I know the one in Vegas sells out in 5 minutes. Like I've been to that one. It's very interesting. I've had friends go to the one in New York. They were like, it was okay, but it wasn't Vegas. So I think that's where you get people who like cigars or aficionados go to. In London, I see that you're playing with yourself. You're 4 blocks, your whole thing is 4 blocks. I'm being somewhat facetious. So your
Well.
community is tight.
That's true. That's true. But here's the thing that I think is going to you're going to find interesting. 14, 15, 20 years ago,
Right.
the view of cigar smokers was the sort of the old library, the sort of musty old
Yep.
English, the gentleman's club. You had a certain stereotypical view of what cigar smokers were.
Right.
Now, even in London, you will find literally from area to area, even like, so for example, I spent a lot of time smoking at places like Tom Tom, number six Cavendish. I'll smoke at
Right.
other places as well, but you kind of find your favorites. You kind of find the
Yep.
places that are easy for you to get to, convenient. You get to know staff. This is not a critique of other places. You just get comfortable in certain places. Okay, so
Right.
it's not a critique of other places. Some places are totally shit, but this is not a critique of them.
No, God forbid we wouldn't want to do that to the places that are shit. The only two good places in London are Tom
But
Tom and
this is
Number
not a
Six
critique.
Cavendish.
This is not a critique of
Of all
of
the
them.
shit places. No, we're only talking about the two best places to smoke in London: Tom
In in
Tom's and
in
Number
in in,
Six
in,
Cavendish.
in my repertoire. In my
Right.
repertoire.
No, we
Okay.
got it.
In
We
my
understand. Everybody else crap to them.
But the
Got it.
point I was trying to make is you will go to a place like Tom Tom and you'll
Hmm?
sit and smoke, and the crowd will be a certain type. When I say crowd, the sort of like
Yeah.
the customer base there will, but you can go to number six, the customer base there is very different.
Right.
It's not one is more sophisticated, one is less. I don't mean it that way, right? I don't mean it in a disparaging kind of way, right?
I would
You could
if I
go
were you.
to Edward Sahakian Lounge in the Bulgari Hotel. The
Sure.
crowd is different, okay?
Right.
Just like pubs, bars, clubs, your favorite, like Cheers Bar. We all know Cheers Bar from the sort of the 80s, right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
comedy series, right? It was a group of people. They come from all walks of society, but as a collection, they make a certain flavor. And
Right.
you're getting different flavors of cigar smoking groups, very, very diverse. You've got a bunch of friends who get together and smoke cigars, and they've got an online WhatsApp group, and they'll meet at different bars and clubs. You've
Right.
got you've got people who sit in specific places. You've got people who go to events.
Yep.
It's become very, very diverse. It is no longer absolutely, and it hasn't been for a while. It's not a stereotypical pursuit. It's not your typical person that goes to play golf and drives a Jaguar with golf bags in the back. It's now everyone plays golf. Now everyone plays golf, if you know what I mean, right? Yeah. I
First of
don't
all,
play golf because
no
I
one
don't
drives
play
no
golf
one
because I
drives a
think it's a complete
Jaguar.
fucking waste of time, right? Yeah. But the
Whoa,
thing is
whoa,
this.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, but you can
Whoa.
take my tools and put them in the dustbin. I've said this
I'm just
before.
saying, golf is like a cigar. That's the truth serum. Golf. I like playing golf with people because
Golf is like a really shit cigar or a New World cigar, right? You'll do it,
okay,
but it doesn't make any difference.
golf is wonderful because you find out how truthful the person is because you got a stroke and then you hit your golf ball. But anyway, I
You're
like
you're
that.
you're you're referring back to golfing and James Bond. You know when they play
Yeah,
when James Bond
yeah,
plays golf with
yeah.
Auric Goldfinger. Now, was he smoking a cigar? Was he not smoking a cigar?
I'm not sure, but
I don't think he was. I think that would have like been a real.
that would have
That'd be a meme that I would just keep
yeah,
posting again and again if James Bond was
uh,
smoking a cigar playing golf.
yeah. Golf is
And if he was smoking a cigar, what cigar would he have been smoking?
hmm.
It's a question
Well,
to
that was
you.
back in the '60s, so it would have
No,
had a
no. Today,
yeah.
what cigar would James Bond be smoking, or technically should he be smoking if he's playing golf?
BK54.
No, the Monte
No,
Cristo Open
really.
Eagle, which
Oh,
is
okay.
designed
Yeah, yeah,
for
for
that.
golf. Yeah, but that's a commoner cigar, and Bond would be too cool, and you would have to give him the BK54.
I think you'd have a vintage cigar or something.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say he'd be like he'd steal something from my humidor from like pre-embargo. But but golf's one of those games where you play, and I enjoy it because if someone cheats on their score, then I don't trust them in business.
Oh, is it a game? Is it a
To
game?
me,
Is
it's
it a
a game.
sport?
It's not a sport. It is a game. There's a
A bit
difference.
like
But
chess. It's like a
yeah,
chess kind of game.
it's like
Okay,
chess or
I
go.
can
Yes.
concede that. I can
Yeah.
concede that it's more
Yeah.
chess like.
Yeah.
I don't
It very
often
much is.
concede, but I will concede to you on that
Amazing.
point.
Let me tell you, I appreciate that. I'm going to write that in my diary later. Yeah, chess is like go, and golf is like go and chess. It's just like you just try to whatchamacallit. You try to just gauge your opponent. But when you play in business, I play with people, golf that is, unless they're female. No. Then it's are they truthful? Like when do they count all their strokes? And that's a big thing. You know, I see you're touching yourself there, and for the people on the podcast, you're missing that he's playing with his little pocket hanky.
There's a rationale. There's a rationale for the. It's a semi goldish, caramelish kind of
Hmm.
pocket square. I wore this. I believe I wore this last week. I don't have a yellow pocket square,
Right.
right? For obvious reasons, because it would look horrible. But I don't have a yellow one, and that was
Yeah.
for the K D'Orsay last week. But
Remember,
coincidentally, Trinidad, once
it's
again,
yellow.
Trinidad. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Well, there we go. Finally, you're doing your job. There you go. There you go. There's the Trinidad label, everybody. There you go.
That's off
Nice.
Vihia. That's off of Trinidad Vihia.
There you go.
That is off a Trinidad Fundadores.
Mm.
That's the original one that was sold.
All right.
Anyway, so I try to kind of match it up, but I've got
Oh,
the
let's get
gold
that
card, if
closer
you know
to
what I mean.
Yeah, look
So
at that.
I'm trying to do the thing that AJ Patel didn't realize that he's doing. He doesn't realize it. Maybe if he watches this show, he'll realize it.
He doesn't watch.
Every time he does a cigar, his
Yeah.
pocket square or tie or shirt or suit
Yeah.
somehow matches the band of the cigar. He didn't, so I'm
Nice.
kind of like I'm making an overt effort. Now I can't have all the colors on the rainbow, but I will try and approximate to the
Okay.
history that I'm doing.
Yeah.
This sort of like a little bit of a mental process just to tie it in, just to make it
Okay.
a bit more interesting.
And we
Anyway,
know
so
AJ watches the show because he talks to you about it and he tells you how you increase sales. So AJ, the commission. No, sorry. But I'm just saying, and AJ did remember. AJ did invite me, and I'm just not. I don't want to rub this in
Did
your
he?
face, but he did invite. Do you remember a couple shows ago? He invited me to come smoke a special like cigar, blah blah blah. He did
Yes,
it.
he's
And,
going to give you a dabbed off special.
yeah, I was gonna say here's a $2 stick. Go away, kid. Yes. Anyway, so yes, so AJ we know watches the show, so thank you, AJ. But yeah, so this week in London, the Trinidads now are gonna fly off the shelf, and I'm assuming when Ruben comes on Monday, or if he's breathing heavy now, he will also smoke a Trinidad with you because you've spoken about Trinidad.
It's just not a bad idea. Smoke a nice. Yes, that's not a or Fundadores or something like that. It's not a bad idea.
Hmm.
The reason why the Quai d'Orsay's are potentially a sort of like, it's not a good word to say, but they're a better seller, is they're just priced more reasonably for something
Okay.
that's actually quite special. They're priced more reasonably.
How many pounds is
Uh,
a
so
quasi
for example,
quasi?
a Quai d'Orsay 50 is about
Yeah.
35, 40 pounds.
And a Trinidad that would be equal?
Trinidad would be about 10, 15 pounds, kind of more. Similar size cigar would be sort of like
Okay.
a Vigilio would be about 50 quid. So, no, but Quai d'Orsay as a brand, I'm just kind of returning back, is it's basically a luxury market brand still
Right.
sitting at a relatively, it's all relatively reasonable price range. I
Okay.
think they're going to go up. If the rumors are to be believed, they will start. But it's a great brand. I'm sort of like I'm a little bit torn actually. Today I'm going to have a smoke later on. I don't quite know what to smoke. I'm a little bit smoked out from last night, which is why I'm not smoking right now. But next program,
Oh.
because we'll be doing Cohiba, I'll be smoking a special Cohiba.
I
I've
would
already
I
decided
would
which one.
I would smoke a cohiba, but the cohibas here are crap. The non-Cuban cohibas, they're just junk. It's like smoking cow manure. So I'm not a fan of the cohiba here. The cohibas from Cuba,
Cuban
they're
Cohibas.
those are beauty. The American cohiba, I just call them Americans. You can non-Cuban, whatever the hell you want to call
I
them.
mean, they're
I think
not.
they're crap.
Yeah, someone might say, "What's in a name?"
A lot.
In the whole point of these little histories is
Right.
to explain what is in the name, right? Okay, what is that name bringing? What qualities is that name bringing?
Right.
Unfortunately, the Dominican market mirrors of the
Right.
Cuban brands, whether it's, so I think you got Cohiba. You had Trinidad for a while. They don't make them anymore. You had Dominican Trinidads
Like
that were made by Fuente. They were made by
yeah,
Fuente factory, right?
right.
You've got what else have you got? You've got the Monte
Monte Cristo.
Cristos.
Yeah.
You've got
Partagas.
Upman. Have you got Upman? You've got
Wait,
Upman and you've got
Partagas,
Partagas.
H. Upman.
Right. So these
Um,
mirrors. So
yeah.
so these are mirrors created in Dominican Republic, not by Cuba, by Dominican growers for the U.S. market, because
Right.
it's so hard to. You would have thought there were copyright issues, etc., etc., etc.,
Yeah.
and Cuba is a little bit screwed from that perspective, right? Okay, but they're not the same.
No,
So
they're
what's
crap.
in the name? What's in the name? There's nothing in that name. There's no
Romeo and
that
Julieta too.
Romeo and
They're like
Julieta
that
too.
crap here as well. I mean, that's the problem when people are like, "I'm smoking a roll," and in my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not Cuban. You really aren't smoking. You're smoking, as you would call them, dry leaves."
Imagine if the world put an embargo on the United Kingdom. Okay. And then I think we had this conversation a different way before. I think it was about Ferraris being made in Egypt, but that was something else. Right?
Yes, we did. We did have that dialogue.
Right. But imagine the UK cannot export or its cars, right?
Right.
But imagine if, I don't know, let's just pick a random country. Cambodia starts making a car called Rolls Royce. It's not the same fucking thing, right?
Right.
You can call it Rolls Royce, but it's not the same thing. And in
That's
this
true.
particular instance, these mirrors, called them mirrors, Dominican mirrors of Cuban brands, quite frankly, you could say what was the reason for doing it. Well, the reason is that people who don't know
Don't know.
just associate the brand and buy it and say, "Oh, I smoked a Partagas last week."
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really? Yes. So yeah. So I don't think the awareness at a more, of course there are cigar aficionados in the USA, but at a more general level, someone will say, "Oh, I just smoked a Partagas," without
Yeah. They don't know.
knowing what the Cuban Partagas and you
Right.
understand what I mean, and the Dominican
I'm
Partagas.
well aware.
So
Yeah.
so there you go. There you get it. So
And by
for
just FYI, last week you said do a little history looking up CAO. I looked up the CAO history because I was going to talk about it. And I was like, no, there's no history here. It's boring. Like there's nothing there. They started a cigar company. Good for you. Done. That's it. I'm like unimpressed with their history. They make one good cigar, which is the Brazilian Amazon. Done. They have no
then
history.
then if you want to stay in a positive spirit,
Yeah, I'm always positive.
the next stage is, okay, forget the history.
Mm,
Let's focus on the quality of the leaf. Let's focus on the
right.
quality of the smoke. See if there's anything there,
Yeah.
right? Now,
And there is with
uh,
the CAO Brazilian, and that we've talked about that. Like that is one of the non-Cubans that is actually a really good smoke. But it's what I say. If I want flavor, I'm going to smoke a Cuban. If I want smoke, I'm going to smoke a non-Cuban. For some reason, the
and
non-Cubans,
that's
yeah,
generally the rule. There are
yeah,
exceptions to that rule, but that's generally the
yeah,
rule, right? You just want to smoke something. You're sitting at a cafe
right,
outside. I don't know where you are, right? Okay, USA is a bit difficult for these things. But you're sitting at a cafe. You don't want to spend more than $10, $15. You want to smoke a cigar, blow smoke into the street, and
yeah,
drink your coffee. You're not going to smoke Cuban unless you're a
yeah,
Cuban aficionado.
right, right,
Uh, and there you go, right?
yeah. I
And
agree.
that is the way it is. It has its utility. If you
Yes.
want to drive from home to your local Neiman Marcus or your local, I don't know, whatever, Pizza Hut, a Toyota will do.
Pizza Hut. Who goes to Pizza Hut?
I
And
don't
also,
know.
who drives it? Who drives it?
I just picking out. You
Oh,
just
okay.
want to.
And
You
who?
just
And nobody I know. Nobody
from a
drives a Toyota.
utilitarian. Let's put it this way. From a
Oh, okay.
utilitarian perspective, a
Okay.
Toyota will do.
Toyota.
Right.
They used to make
But
a
if
good
you're
car.
going for a drive for 50 miles
Yeah.
without any aim, a Ferrari will work better.
You have a fascination with this Italian car with men with small penises, which I don't really. They don't make good cars anymore. I mean, this new one, the V12, the whatever it's called that I can't pronounce,
12
but you can.
cylinder,
Yeah,
12
the V12.
cilindri.
Yes, thank you. The naturally aspirated one that they say Enzo would come in his pants over. That's a Ferrari. Maybe the 812 comes close to it, but the rest of the Ferraris they built recently, they're crap. The 296, the one that looked like a Corvette, they're all just crap. I mean, and it's sort of like, look what we could. And then they built that little SUV. That's crap. Come on, Ferrari. I know you're public and you got to make money, but really, you're losing credibility. There's better cars out there now. Like owning a Ferrari isn't the mystique it used to be. I mean, there's still if you own an older Ferrari, like a 250, 260, the older ones, an Enzo, one of the you have a Ferrari, but they're like some of the others they built were just crap. I'm just saying.
It
Yes.
goes back to the history.
Yes.
If there is a history, then
Yes.
you can almost find some reason to see something good in even something that's not particularly that well made.
Well, the
Okay.
horsey, the Prince and horsey is what people want. They want that emblem.
They want
That's
the
it.
emblem.
Yeah.
They want the emblem. And so the interesting thing might be to focus on some of these super Cuban brands, which are their worst cigars. And when I say worst, is a
Ooh.
palate thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tend not to go in that direction primarily because I don't think they make really bad cigars. I mean,
So
I've only had maybe two, maybe three really bad, and I don't mean in terms of construction because construction you can get construction issues in any cigar, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm talking about cigars that just don't suit my palate. They just don't
Right.
work for me. And for me, it's not a cigar. It's a particular. I don't like peppery cigars.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about spicy. I don't like peppery cigars.
Right. Right.
And I don't like cigars with too much dry cedar. That's so when you're, like a wet wine and a dry wine, yeah.
Right.
With cigars, you also get this sort of back taste of wood. If it's sweetish, it's okay. If it's
Yeah.
really dry, it just makes your mouth feel bitter. And
Yeah.
anything else, any other flavor that hits, just goes into that bitterness. So
Right.
that's not a flavor profile I like. And actually, there has been one cigar, but I've only smoked it once. So really, to get the true measure of that cigar, I have to smoke it again.
Right.
One of the worst Cuban cigars that I've smoked to my palate, but I'm open to retrying it, is the Ramon Alones Private Stock 230.
Really?
Spoke about
That's
2 years
supposed to
ago.
be a good cigar.
Terrible. Meant to be
All
an
right.
outstanding cigar,
Yeah.
but I did not enjoy it one bit. So I have to
Mhm.
reinvestigate that at some stage in the future if I really want to get past it.
Well, that means that cigar won't sell this week. So the Trinidad's going to sell it. That's it. Trinidad's going to be out by
No, no,
Monday.
no, no, no. That could be. I'm open. I'm open to the fact that I just had a bad cigar, or I had, just was not in the right frame of mind, or I was a bit, drunk when I was smoking it, which I was.
Probably, I'd go with the drunk when you were smoking it part, but
Mm.
that's fine. So, but remember, when we talk about cigars, they sell out in London because that's, most of our fans are from London. So when you talk about, so this week, the Trinidad is going to sell out. So, AJ and Tom Toms with Christian,
Well, I don't think
I think
everyone's
those
going to be
numbers.
rushing to get. They're slightly on the more slightly expensive side, and they're
I
getting
don't know
more
about that.
expensiver and expensiver.
I don't know. I think they're going to do it because they're going to be like, "Ooh, Rizza said I should try." I'm going to go. People are going to try it. They tried the other one, the French little brand thing there.
The Quai d'Orsay.
Thank you very little. So yes, that one, the one I can never pronounce for some reason.
And
Have
and 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 I'm already in some form of anticipation for next week's Cohiba
Are you
venture.
and
That
Ruben going to
one
have
was
a Cato say a Trinidad and a Cuban then, or Cohiba?
Cohiba.
Yeah, you guys smoke all
Yeah,
three
so
with them?
that's all. That in itself is like a trinity of
Yeah,
really super brand cigars.
yeah.
Um, that's how I'm starting my little venture into these. Can we call them histories? We can call them his stories.
His stories, yes, they're histories.
His
Stories.
stories.
Yeah. So,
In fact, I remember that pun was started by Michael Jackson on his album History. Was his story.
stories. Yes, it was out before or after he grabbed his crotch with his glove.
It was during.
During, just checking, just
It
checking.
was
Yeah.
during. It was during. It was
Wow.
during.
Michael Jackson, he's been dead a while.
He's been dead, what, 17 years?
Really? Oh, I gotta
15
look
to
this up.
7.
I don't know.
He
Let's find
died
out
in
when Michael.
2009, 16
Are you
years?
sure?
2009, I think he died.
All right, let's look up Michael Jackson because now we
2009.
must know. You think so?
MJ died in 2009.
Are you sure?
That's off the top of my head, yeah.
Look at you. Michael Jackson died June 25th, 2009.
Yeah,
And
nailed
he
it.
was, yeah, you did. I'm very impressed. And
16
when he
years ago.
yeah, he was 50 years old when he died. And there
That
you go.
16 years went really fast, I'll be very honest with you. That
I
16
know,
years
right?
went like
I remember
that.
16 years ago. Wow. See, I was just
A
turning a
teenager.
million. I was just a teenager. That's a long time ago. So when I was a teenager, they were just discovering fire. So it was a very exciting time, with
They were
the
just
and
in the
building
process of rubbing those sticks together.
the sticks together. And then we all moved to Egypt and we had free electric with the big pyramid thing.
Do you
So there you
know?
go.
Do you know there was a rationale? I don't know. It's a very well-known thing. Do you know why fire was invented?
No, I can't wait to hear this.
Well, someone was holding a cigar. They'd cut it. They
Uh,
didn't have any way of igniting, so fire had to be
so
invented.
fire had to be
You heard that
invented. Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You heard that here first.
That's right. That's true. And if we tell you, it's true history. So there you go. So, but no, I like the story about Trinidad. It is very cool. And later we'll put that out because we'll package that up very nicely, the history of the Trinidad cigar, and we'll package that. Not like this show, which is just thrown together, but that we'll package and put that in histories as
I
well,
find the
Xiao.
flavor of this show has been slightly more educational and more serious. I noted from your feedback to me last time is some of your listeners like some aggression. They like a little bit of leg pulling. They like
Yeah,
people
yeah,
being stretched out left, right, and center.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Hey, we talked about something on the phone yesterday. If you want, we can discuss that. If you want to talk about that, that's up to you. You heard something, and we were discussing that yesterday. I thought
Well,
that was
no,
an interesting topic.
no. I mean, it doesn't relate to this conversation, right? But
So
the
we
only
can't talk about
reason,
that. So there you go. So
no, it's to do with the organic process. I mean, I called you about something that I found a little bit of this concept. I called you because I thought you would know the answer because you tend to have the answer for most of these things, right?
right,
This term that's being used a lot on social media, self-hating Jews.
yeah,
Right. Now, I hear this term being used. Initially, it was being used by Jews against other Jews, and now
right,
everyone is using it. And it's
right,
sort of like I'm trying to get to the nub of it. Where did this start? In terms of etymology, in terms of histories, like
yeah,
even with the cigar, it's nice to know where this band came from.
right.
Actually, the history lesson ain't over. Actually, if you want,
Sure, more.
why does it have why does it have the three T's on it?
Tell us.
Right? So this cigar didn't have any branding until about 1998 when they released cigars, or sorry, maybe a little bit before that, but until between 94 98 they didn't really have any bands. Actually, what they did, they referred to their history. This is where Diego Trinidad comes into this guy who had this small factory in Cuba in 1903. And the three T's, where are they? Were the brand of that factory. So they went back to history, pulled that brand, pulled that logo, and put it on a new cigar.
Very nice. Okay.
So it's nothing to do with his factory per se.
Right.
It's like someone rediscovering a history 90 years later and saying, "Oh, well, that factory doesn't exist anymore. Why don't we just use that? It's a ready-made brand. Let's
Right.
use
Right.
it." Right?
Very
Okay.
nice.
Some might call it stealing history. Some might call it
Hmm.
stealing history. Some might call it borrowing history. Some might call it referencing history.
Right.
But that's what they did. So
Right. Right.
that is where that came from. And so that was so when it came to this term that's being kicked around, it's been kicked around for a little while. I thought, hang on,
There's the
let
Jew.
me ask Stephen, who is very boisterous. He knows what he's talking about. Let me ask him. And your opinion was kind of where I thought this is. It's just a slur.
Yeah. It's
Um,
basically a slur. Yeah. There's no.
uh,
First of all, I've never heard a Jew call another Jew a self-hating Jew. So
right.
right away, that's sort of like. And I said this, and don't if you're going to send your cards and letters, send them to David because I could care less. But it's like calling a Jew back in the day a kite. And I'm not sure why that's a slur. I've never researched it because to me, it's a word. And
Etymology.
yeah,
Etymology.
right. But see, here's how I look at things. It's the old adage: sticks and stones will break your bones, and words will never hurt me. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. But so to me, saying someone's a self-hating Jew, that's kind of the same thing. It's a slur. And because you can't use it,
I think it's used to negate someone's intellectual position. If someone takes intellectual position,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
If you say that, it makes them or is designed to make them stop saying that. And that's what I think it's about. It's sort of like
maybe.
I'm questioning your Jewishness. You better watch what you're saying. I'm questioning your Jewishness, as if that matters,
Yeah,
right?
like who cares? Like I said, if Judaism and being Jewish is it's not hand in hand. You're a Jew if your mother in the lineage is on the female side, so you're Jewish. That doesn't mean you go get a bar mitzvah. That doesn't mean you do the Sabbath every Friday. There's like I'm very
When you
much a
say
Reformed
Sabbath, you
Jew.
mean the Shabbat.
The Shabbat, right, where you do the dinner and you with the whole nine yards, right? Now I have a friend in Morristown and he's got 15 kids, and I know all their names, 1 through 15, and I call them by number because their names are too hard to remember. And they're real Jews. They're like the Hasidic with the Pesach and the this and that. And when on Friday night when the sun goes down, they don't touch electric. They have two ovens, two refrigerators, two wives. I mean, two everything. It's very interesting. But so they're a real Jew. I'm a reformed one. So like eating a cheeseburger, I'm okay with that. And then you have
Or a
everything in the
Reuben,
middle.
or a Reuben.
Or a Reuben. Yes, a good Reuben. Oh, it's a beauty. So our Puerto Rican Jew who has changed
Who
his
isn't a
name to,
Jew?
yeah,
He'd be
who
honored. He'd be
I know.
honored that he's elevated, but he isn't.
Yeah, we've honored him, but he's not. But my point is that they seem to use this as like a slur because you can't. It's like with the black people, you can't use the N word. It's like with the Jewish people, you can't use the K word. So we come up with other things to, I guess,
Circumvent
yeah,
to like
circumvent the
lawyers moving
social,
around.
right, the social norms to come up with something how you disparage somebody. So to me, it's like,
Anyway,
whatever.
the only reason it's come up in conversations because it was
Yeah.
something that I was sort of like talking to you about on a private
Mhm.
basis yesterday, and we said, right, I think you're the one who said,
Make
wouldn't
a
that
good
be cool?
show.
If we got, but we tend not to get heated with each other. We tend
Yeah.
to pull each other's legs on
Yeah,
these
a lot.
things, and
Yeah.
let's see how this show transpires next week when we'll start with Kariba. I felt the temperature of this show was slightly cooler
Yeah.
because we were talking about sort of a sophisticated brand, this Trinidad, slightly this Mythic brand.
Yeah.
Mythic is the word that kind of goes in my head a lot. When I'm fascinated with something, it's usually
Right.
because it's got some sort of long history associated with
Right.
it. And history is mythic because there's always gaps in history that your mind and imagination has to make up.
Right.
And that's what I find fascinating about these brands, if you
Yeah.
like, notwithstanding how they taste, how they smoke. It's got to be a good cigar in the first place. But
Right.
I don't think I've had any bad Trinidads ever. I think my favorite Trinidad, actually, I can tell you which is my favorite Trinidad, is the Media Luna, the Half Moon.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
That's a great cigar. Great,
All
great
right.
cigar. Deep, earthy, rich. Love it,
All right.
love
So
it,
those will
love
be
it,
selling
love it.
out this week in London. So if
Might
you're
smoke
watching the
that
show,
today, actually. I might go smoke a
all
Media
right.
Luna today.
Well, then they'll be sold out by Thursday, like last week with the other
The
one. So
toss up is today a great Media Luna or a great K Dorsey. I smoked K Dorsey quite a lot last week.
yeah,
I
but
might
see,
have to
Cato
give it.
say you're going to smoke with Ruben on Monday.
Let's see. Let's see what happens. But I'm in either one of those two right now because I've been
Why don't you
talking about the
smoke one of
history.
each?
Actually, talking about the histories of each of these cigars builds up an appetite to smoke that cigar. And I
Right. Why
think
don't you
that
smoke one of
any of
each?
you guys watching, right,
Right.
could do. But I want to go with something complementary, complement because Trinidad cigars are much more, in my opinion, more earthy and aromatic. K
Okay.
Dulce are lighter. They have some sort of creamy, almost floral aromatics,
Okay.
depending on which one you smoke. So it's like if I want to transport myself to Paris,
Right.
that's what I want to smoke. If I want to
Yeah.
smoke a Trinidad, it's because, and it's to do with memories. Trinidad is the hope and for me is the hope and expectation of. There are two cigar brands that I smoke. That when I smoke them, it's about the hope and expectation of visiting Cuba. Trinidad is one of them. Partagas is the other one.
Gotcha. So why no next year you're going to go to the big Cuba Fest?
I'd like to, but that we've had this discussion before. It's falling right in the middle of Ramadan, so
Oh, that's
I'm gonna
right.
fast. I fast. I fast.
Oh, yeah.
I do every effort to stick to it. So how do you go to a cigar festival that's full of great eating, cigars,
Nighttime.
smoking?
Nighttime.
No, that's true. You could do anything in life, right? Yeah, but the when you are going for the first time,
Got
it
to
may be an
experience
experience
it.
in itself. By the way, jury's out. This
Yeah.
may be an
Right.
experience in itself, right?
And maybe we'll go together, and then during the day, I'll just tell you everything you missed.
Yeah, sort of related to me like a story, so I can absorb it in a different sort of medium.
I'll just video it all and go, listen, this is what you missed here, here, here. By the way, this is really good food. This is a good cigar, blah, blah, blah. And then at nighttime,
You
we'll go
know
to the parties.
you look just like abstinence of food, right? You know when I'm fasting during Ramadan, right? I
Yeah.
fast the full. I make every effort to do everything unless you're ill for a day or two. It
Right.
happens from time to time. Last Ramadan did every single fast, right?
Yeah.
I tell you something, Stephen. Uh, the food you eat at the end of the day tastes
Yeah.
at least 200% better.
Oh, yeah.
The anticipation, the abstinence
Right.
fuels that release. It's like holding your breath for a minute. The first intake of oxygen after that
Right.
minute is the sweetest oxygen. And it could be, and I am expecting that that's what will happen with the cigars and even this festival.
Yeah.
Perhaps for me, my first visit to the festival might be, I mean, how much better could a cigar be? I could be experiencing it in a way that other people don't experience it. I could have my first
Sure.
cigar at sunset, and
At
that
sunset.
cigar tastes better And the
Yep.
experience is better than anyone else in the room having that experience because they'll be
But
smoking
see,
throughout the day.
but during the day, you can go to the factories, you can do all that stuff because you don't have to smoke or eat anything.
You can do all that, but I don't know. Once again, you're out there in the heat and you're around other cigar smokers, and I don't know. I'm just at this moment. This is the theory stage, right?
Yeah, yes, I
Uh,
know because I remember we spoke about that and what would you do and how would you do it and the whole nine. But it's
you can
good
do
that you're
it. You can
religious
do
like
it.
that. You
You
can
can
do
do
it. I
it, and
agree.
I'm sure, and I'm pretty positive that if I was put in a position where I had to do it, I would try and enjoy it to the nth degree.
And I think we'd
But
have to spend is it the whole month is it all of Ramadan? It's part of it? Is it in beginning your end
yeah,
or is
yeah,
it like
I
in the
think the
middle? It's
week
like dead middle.
yeah, because
Dead middle.
when Usman went this year,
Yeah.
Ramadan started on the final day of him being there. So next year, Ramadan moves up sort of like 10 days, 2 weeks because of
Oh, okay.
the lunar cycling.
Right. Like the
So
Jewish calendar. Yeah.
by the Jewish calendar.
Yeah.
You copied us because you came before us, so you copied us. And so no
Yes.
critique,
Yeah.
no critique,
Yeah.
no
No
critique,
critique
no
at all.
critique, no
You
critique.
copied us. So,
You
you
copied us,
bastards. So,
and you made it worse by going first. Um, uh, just to sort of poke the
I,
eyes out
I,
to these
I
listeners.
don't want to be rude or anything, but I think we all copied the Chinese. Because if I'm not mistaken, they had all of this before we showed up.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we
There
all
you
copied
go.
the Chinese. So yeah, so Xiao's watching. So Xiao, there
Well,
you
where's
go.
he sitting? Where's that bugger sitting in Paris right now,
Oh,
smoking
he's in
cigars?
Paris. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? He's probably on the Champs-Élysées and smoking a cigar. So,
So right. So it's gonna fall in Ramadan.
okay.
Um, let's see what happens. See what happens. I would honestly, even in talking to you, I'm kind of
Yeah,
like erring on the side of like, let's do this. Come
there
on.
we go.
We're
Yeah.
roll up sleeves, gloves off. Let's go. Let's go.
And
Let's go.
Ruben
Let's
and
bring it
Ruben
on.
the non-Jew can go too. Our Puerto Rican non-Jew. He can come. The three of us could
Well,
go.
he was just
That would be.
flying. He was just, yeah.
I mean, it's a 90
Now
minute.
we
Yeah,
know what he's about. He's got this track record of just flying in.
yeah. It's a 20
Um,
minute flight for him. He'll be like, yeah, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
I think I personally think that the best way to take the full advantage of going to the Habanos Festival next year during Ramadan is to turn up a day or two before the festival,
I agree.
but to stick around 5 or 6 days after the festival.
I agree. I agree 100%. You've got to go a couple days before and stay, well, a couple days or 5 days after and do it.
And
And
and and,
then,
and the rationale for that is that then you can pace down a little bit. You can sort of like in the evening have a nice meal, have 2 or 3 cigars if you feel like it, yeah.
sure.
For the next 5 or 6 hours, have a breakfast,
Right.
sleep, and then actually for 4 or 5 days, I won't say sleep throughout the day, but use that sort of like go to bed around 5 or 6 in the
In the
morning
morning.
after you've
Yeah.
had your breakfast. Sleep for 6 or 7 hours and get up.
Start your
That
day.
it's a different.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to describe it to people who are not of the Islamic persuasion, but those are the realities that we have to. If you're really kind of balls in, you have to go through those realities to work out right. How am I going to structure this day? Notwithstanding being on holiday at a festival,
I
right?
know.
Okay.
That'd be very
Otherwise,
interesting though. And then Ruben would fly in and then we get special tours. There you go.
well, there you go,
We could
Laguito
go,
Factory,
we,
etc.,
yeah,
etc., etc.
we
Oh,
could
by the
go
way,
and,
that's one
yeah,
part of the history. Maybe it's a little bit too late in the show, but the Trinidad is rolled at the Laguito Factory. It's like the premier
very
factory
nice.
in Miramar in Cuba.
Very cool. Who knew? Now you don't. The more you
So
know.
sorry, that was a little bit expanded history. I was throwing bits and pieces in, but the main aspect of the Trinidad cigar history is the mythos behind it. The fact that it was unavailable. It was a gift from Fidel. It was designed as sort of his personal gift to give to foreign dignitaries.
Right.
And this is sort of between 1969 and all the way up to about 1998. So for a good 20
Wow.
years, so in almost good 30 years, this was a brand that if you
What
were
do you,
smoking it, you were in
yeah.
privileged circles and you were smoking
What do
it.
you think a box today with Castro's signature, if someone like wasn't a cigar smoker, mom or dad came back and go, oh, Castro gave me this and the kid stuck it in a closet somewhere. What do you think a box like that would be worth today?
Be worth significant money. I know someone who
Yeah.
has a box like that.
Very nice. Does he smoke the cigars, or they just not?
Well. The person I know who specifically has a box is AJ Patel. He's got a
Oh,
Castro signed box of Fundadores
nice.
from '98, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and there are some other stalwarts in the cigar industry here in the UK who've had those boxes or have those boxes,
Right.
and those. I mean, these things. Listen, who's to know what price they go for? Who's to know what they're worth? They're only worth something when it's at point of sale.
Mm,
Other than that, we can make prices up. We can,
right.
right? But they're only worth something at point of sale.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, let me tell you, they get about 20 years ago, they auctioned off a cigar about this big that Winston Churchill had smoked. And it was in glass on a thing. I think it sold for like 25,000 pounds.
well, there you go. You're buying history. You're not buying a cigar.
No, no, I knew that. And I remember when it went for auction, I was like, do I really want Winston Churchill's cigar? And it was like, in my mind, I do, but I'm kind of like, there's better things to spend my money on. It's history, but I'd rather buy a Chinese artifact or a
But
China.
this is what this I think what you've done is very well. You've very well described the rationale for these Trinidad cigars. Because you're
Right.
buying this product, you're actually buying history. So history tied up
Yeah.
with a product, right?
Correct.
The value, so it's not just a product. So these Dominican ones they're just product. They don't have the history, right?
Right.
So when you combine, from a marketing perspective, when you combine history with product and sell it, it is so much more, because history
Yeah.
is sort of, rarity is one thing, history is another thing, uh, uh, product is another thing. So you start combining these things, you get something of great value.
Yeah.
And so back to Trinidad, the Trinidad Association is with Fidel Castro,
Mm,
and 30 years of Fidel Castro giving away these in small batches to friends, to
right.
dignitaries. That's where the fascination is.
Right.
Okay. To one's
But that's,
purpose. Sorry.
no, I was to say, that's the whole purpose of a Cuban cigar. It's the history behind just the Cuban cigars in general, where the Dominican has no history. It's sort of like, I'm going to start a
And,
cigar.
and then also with the Castro element
Right. Yes.
was this mythos of Cuba standing on its own,
Right.
segregated from the world, inaccessible. So all those things drive up price, because you
Right.
have basically inaccessibility, history, and product, because the product has to be good in the first place. The product in itself is good, as from
Right.
Laguito number one, and the product is great. So it's the Ferrari that Enzo Ferrari would give as a present to his
Right.
friends,
Right.
which didn't have a Ferrari badge on it,
Yeah.
right? Of
Yep. Yep.
which there is only 20 around.
Right. Right.
It's that kind. And I,
Right.
you smile sometimes. I use this Ferrari um, analogy with Cuban cigars quite effectively, from the perspective that it makes sense in my head. And when I speak to people about it, it makes sense.
And there.
So even
Right.
people who are not in cigars, they start understanding what this is all about, right? It's
Right.
rarity, history, product, performance. There's a lot of things tied up in one thing.
So here's the interesting thing then. Before Ferrari went public, when they made like the 458 and these other cars that were like still Ferraris, if you will, not with Enzo, but whatever. And then when they went public and they started to do mass production of cars, which are all crap, I think then that's when Ferrari went from being a Cuban cigar to a non-Cuban cigar, if you want to use that analogy. I mean, because not every Ferrari, like I can't remember that convertible. They look like a Corvette and some other crappy
Well,
ones that they made. That's
the
it. So
no,
that's kind of it.
the analogy is still strong, primarily because the Cuban cigar industry, Habanos, have
Yeah, yeah.
certain They have tiers of cigars, the super
Right,
brands, the international brands. This is
right.
the same as the Ferrari model vehicles. You have
Yeah,
the SP projects, the special projects, right?
right,
You have the top end car, which is always an F40, an F50, an F60, a La Ferrari, which is the
right.
F70, and now the F80.
Yeah.
right? Okay, so you had the F40, the F50, the Enzo, the La Ferrari, and now the F80. These are the top V12, apart from the F40, which is a V8, right? Yeah, the top brand cars. They only make 299 or 399.
Right.
You can't buy that car unless you bought 30 Ferraris before. That's the
Right.
top end. Then if you go through the rate, now Ferrari 30 years ago would only make two different cars. They'd have the top brand and they'd have a market sort of
Right.
2 or 3 brands. Now Ferrari, just like Habanos, have different brands. So Habanos have the standard production cigar, which is like, for example, the Robusto Challenge that I went to a couple of weeks ago or
Right.
3 weeks ago, and the next one is in a week's time, is for these standard production Robusto size cigars. I can't
Okay.
name all of them, but the Monte Cristo, the Romeo Giulietta Short Churchill, the Bolivar Royal Corona, the Partagas D4, etc. So there's 8 of them, 7 or 8 of them. H. Upman.
Right.
Is there an H. Upman? Could be. Anyway,
Hmm.
these are their standard production cigars.
Right.
Now, they're very satisfying. They're not special. They're just satisfying. In fact, arguably, one of them, Ramon Especially Selected, is a very, very satisfying bang for buck cigar. You could say this is the
Okay.
low end Ferrari. It's not a high end Ferrari, but it's not a shit car either. In absolute terms, it's not a shit car.
You
So
really
you
think the
say
296 is a good Ferrari? Seriously?
I've not driven it. I'm not a huge fan of how it looks. Not a huge fan, but it is Ferrari. It's unmistakably a Ferrari, right?
Yeah, but it
The
looks like a
296
McLaren.
is a V6, right? The
Yeah, I
engine is a
know.
V6. So the
Yeah.
Ferrari ethos, the Enzo Ferrari ethos was we
Yeah.
sell you an engine, the body comes for free.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. We sell you the engine. Our
But
thing is
his
about engineering of engine.
but his quote was always like, "If it's not a V12, it's not a Ferrari."
Correct, right? So where do you stand with that? Does that mean the
I,
world can't move forward? You can have a point of view on these things. You could say, well, it's got the spirit of Ferrari in it because it still
mm,
sounds like a Ferrari, it still moves like a Ferrari, even though it's got no engine, it's just got electric motors, right? God
yeah, and that's
forbid
not a
one day they
Ferrari.
might have to do that. Right,
No, stop.
but to
Electric
someone in
car
a
sales.
hundred years time, in a hundred years time, someone may not have a choice, right? Okay.
No, electric car sales are down, by the way. They're down globally, thank God, because that's a scam. And we're not running out of oil anytime soon because we've been running out of oil since when I was born back in the year zero.
mm,
And they keep saying we're running out, which also that's a bullshit thing. It didn't come from dinosaurs. I'm believing there's a river or something under the earth that
a
runs.
university in 2000 years ago, in
Yeah,
1992, I was doing a physics degree, and
right.
one of my units in that degree, this was at UCL, University College London,
Yes.
um,
Excuse us. Yes. Let me pick that up for you. Go ahead.
of the University of London in London.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, one of my units was environmental physics, and we spoke about, we not spoke, we were talking about resources, oil
Right.
resources, and renewability, sustainability. This is 35 years ago, right? Yeah. And the projection was then around 2020, there'll be no oil reserves.
Yeah. Well, you were wrong.
Right. Now, these were in academic circles,
Right. Right.
in like top end academic circles. This is
Sure.
what people were projecting, right?
Right.
Okay. It's just the way of the world.
Yeah, but see, I don't believe it came from dinosaurs because if that's the case, I could take a bunch of people, kill them, compress them, and I get oil. I have a problem with this. I think there's just a river of oil that runs under the planet. And that's it. I'm sorry. I don't believe the dinosaur story. I think that's BS. I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life when I was a kid. And I think it's dumb today. I don't believe that. And no one can prove it. That's how you make the oil. Just like you can't prove to me how we all got here. Big Bang, another stupid theory or hypothesis.
No,
You know.
no, 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 no. Well, how we got here? You mean humans got here?
Well, yeah, that's the Anunnaki. I know that, but I'm just saying how the universe was created. I did the Big Bang thing is please, might as well just say Marvin the alien created us as a science project. I'm just saying.
There is
Eh,
a huge amount of philosophy to be broken down here, and people who've been doing this for
thousands
millennia
of
haven't
years.
come to an
Yes,
answer.
I know, right?
Millennia, they haven't come to an answer.
So, oh well, it could be worse. We'll do another UFO show one day. The fans love that. So, we'll see.
UFO
So,
and cigars.
There you go. Well, the UFOs are supposedly look cigar shaped.
Cigars and aliens. The cigars and
Oh,
aliens.
I like
show.
it. There's next week's show, kids. So, are we done, or do you want to go on more? We can do whatever you'd like. We got
No,
things.
we're kind of
We're done.
we got cigared out,
Okay.
and I'm gonna sign out soon. But Cohiba cigars
Next week. And Trinidad Cigars was the cigar this week. Watch the whole interview, listen to it on the podcast, subscribe and like. Trinidad's will be selling out in London. Ruben, safe travels because we know you're heading over there. And Xiao's interview will go up tomorrow on the podcast. I'm not the podcast, on the YouTube playlist under his stories. And we'll also do it as a premiere for everybody to see Xiao's interview. And there you go, kids.
If you want to explore Trinidad cigars, my personal recommendation, without breaking the bank, go and smoke a Media Luna, the half moon.
The half moon. Or if you want, just give somebody the half moon. But I'm here till Thursday. Don't forget to tip your wait staff. So, my friend, as always, it is good to see you and spend a Saturday morning with you. To our fans, we're sorry we started early, but he was excited. We wanted to start. So with us, just figure we're live on Saturday mornings or afternoons in London. And don't forget to subscribe and like. We rebroadcast this later in the afternoon. A whole bunch of specials are coming out this week for the cigar stuff. Where you can pick it up, and wherever you get your podcasts or wherever you watch YouTube, you can find us on your channel. And that's it, boys and girls. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe and like. You ready, big guy, to say goodbye? There you go. Gio, everybody.